Last week, the state's revenue forecast showed tax collections are basically flat from previous estimates. What does this mean for the average citizen?
Well, the economy is still very fragile. It's slowly improving, and the job outlook continues to improve, but not at the rate we'd really like to see. We're not back to pre-2008 levels yet. We're projecting a $2 billion increase in revenue collection over the next biennium here, which is rather interesting and comes at a very fortunate time, seeing as that we had the McCleary decision come out and that we have some funding to do for K-12 education. About $1.5 billion of that will be committed to McCleary, according to the Fund Education First budget, which leaves $500 million available for additions to current services that we need to either maintain or enhance. Part of the issue is going to be is acknowledging, yes, we have an additional $2 billion, and yet at the same time to restrict or control the Democrats' penchant to continue to spend above and beyond that which increased for revenues.
We're now in the 71st day of the 105-day session. What has been accomplished for jobs in the economy?
In the House, not much. I always look in the House at the four corners of measurement. It has to do with the B&O tax and gross revenues. You know, have we amended that or adjusted that to be able to allow new businesses to start and existing businesses to compete? Haven't seen that. Unemployment rates are still substantial, although they are recovering at this point. Unemployment rates for premiums are still fairly high. Workman's comp is something totally different here. Workman's comp indexes to the wage rate in Washington State, which tends to be a little bit higher than some of the other states. So the benefits that are paid appear higher. However, we have a problem in that the benefits really are higher in Washington State. We need to allow some sort of a competitive aspect to come into play, whether it's allowing private industry to compete with a government system that's in place for workman's comp, something to actually bring down the cost of workman's comp for the employers out there. In the Senate, something totally different. There are a couple of bills in the Senate that really are interesting. One of them is Senate Bill 5679 that allows a process to review the existing rule set. Now, Washington State, draconian application rules in being overregulated, is 48th out of 50 in the state here. We're way overregulated. You know, this process will allow, Senate Bill 5679 will allow a process so that we can review the existing regulatory structure and figure out if, in fact, there are things that we can do to get regulations out of the way of business. Senate Bill 5680 and also 5718 both do something that's rather interesting. There are two parts. They create a one-stop web-based shop for either obtaining a business license, permits, and what it takes to get business going, or if you're a business that currently is in existence, it allows you to have a one-stop reporting site to take all of the regulatory aspects.
Your seatmate Michael Baumgartner recently introduced a proposal to better fund higher education. What do you think about that? I
think it's a great idea. I think that higher education has been deprioritized over the last 40 years in that it really is something that isn't just a cost to the state. It's one of the very few areas that has an absolute one-to-one ratio return on investment. However, McCleary made it very clear in reaffirming the Washington State Constitution that our first and foremost requirement, our paramount duty in this state, is to amply provide for K-12 education. Now, once that's taken care of, higher education is something that has a substantial nexus. You don't just stop at the end of high school. If you want to obtain those skills that are necessary to compete in today's world, and especially those skill sets that we'd like to see in Washington State to attract business here, higher education availability really is an issue. Having the ability to afford to complete an education, just an undergraduate education, for example, without having, say, a mortgage and a house to show for it, and student loan structure coming out, really is a worthy accomplishment for us here. So looking towards higher education as being reprioritized and adequate resources being made available, as long as we don't take away from McCleary or the K-12 education that is the paramount duty of the state, absolutely.